My grandfather was a state representative in Texas. He was a county judge. He was a civil rights activist. And he had this habit, at least from a kid's point of view, of always shouting at me, "What do you think about Jimmy Carter?" You know, and I'd be like, Jesus.
Hi, Ethan. Thank you for hanging out with me today.
It's my pleasure.
So charming already.
Oh, good.
Oh, and a cool background too. What is that?
Yeah, right? It's a mural that Richard Linklater made for me about 20 years ago. It's he took the heads and tails of films. You know, he cut off and he made little postcards out of them and made a mural. So it's called Heads I Win, Tails You Lose.
That's so cool. Very neat.
It's really neat, right?
Awesome. So we are here to talk about The Good Lord Bird, your new series on Showtime. I've seen it described as humorous, historical, and dramatic, which agree with all of those. But it seems like you're really passionate about this project. You know, you've worked on a ton of things in the past. You've co-founded a theater company. You've written novels. You've directed. What is it about this story that really sunk its hooks into you?
You know, I grew up in the United States of America, and talking about race is really hard. There's a tremendous amount of guilt and shame from one part of the community and a tremendous amount of righteous anger from another part of the community. And it's difficult to find the right way to talk about it. And if you don't talk about it, then you can't change anything. And McBride wrote this unbelievable book called The Good Lord Bird. He won the National Book Award for it. And I read it and I was blown away because in telling this part of the story, you kind of he put his finger on the national wound, you know, some of the most hurtful aspects, painful aspects of our nation's history. And he tells the story the way you imagine Richard Pryor, Red Fox, or Chris Rock would. I mean, he tells it with so much wit and humor and hypocrisy and love. And it just knocks you completely off balance, and you can hear it. You know, you can really hear it. And if you hear it, your heart opens up, you know, and so that's why I love it.
I wasn't expecting the humor. I haven't read the novel, but your character is very entertaining, I will say, which is what you want from a TV show while you're also learning.
Learning is boring. Entertaining is fun. So if basically it's kind of like serving people, you can serve people a crappy meal and satisfy their hunger, or you can serve them a great meal, satisfy their hunger, and nourish them, you know? So I always think a great movie is entertaining and nourishing.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Two things that I was wondering. One, how much tea and honey did you have to drink after all of this screaming that you do? And two, what was the weirdest thing that got stuck in your beard?
Whatever you can imagine gets stuck in a beard like that. You know, I had chicken feathers and horse feathers and French fries and, you know, I don't know. The tea and honey is for sure. I had this idea very early on that I somehow would try to channel my grandfather. You know, my grandfather was a state representative in Texas. He was a county judge. He was a civil rights activist. And he had this habit, at least from a kid's point of view, of always shouting at me, you know, "What do you think about Jimmy Carter?" You know, and I'd be like, Jesus, you know, and so I just thought, I was trying to figure out how John Brown would talk, and I just started hearing my grandfather.
Anya, you've been reading the Bible?
Not too much, Captain, but I've been thinking it's golly way.
We can work with that. You stand for the Lord. The Lord will stand for you.
Something else I wanted to talk to you about. It is hard to research you without seeing a picture of you with dogs. And you obviously love your animals. So how important are your dogs in your life?
You know, that's a funny question, because one of the big aspects of the show, of The Good Lord Bird and John Brown, is his faith. And I had a very funny thing happen to me when I was about 15, 14. I started to hate going to church, right? My mom always made me go to church, and I started to really hate it. And I didn't want to go. And finally, my mother said, all right, you don't have to go to church, but once a week, you have to do something for other people. You have to do something for somebody besides yourself. And so I got a job working at the Pound on Sunday morning, so I didn't have to go to church. And I would go and clean the cages of all these dogs, a lot of whom were going to be put down.
Yeah.
And I'd walk them. And it was such a beautiful experience. I just love these dogs so much. And, I always had dogs too. And then I got cast in White Fang when I was 19. And there was this animal, he's a quarter wolf named Jed, who I got to do this whole movie with. And if I were to ever teach an acting class, if I were at Juilliard, I would make people do scenes with animals, because animals don't act, If they sense you posing, if they sense you being fake, if they sense that you have an agenda with them, they are nervous around you. So you have to not act with them. You have to be real with them, right? And that's one of the great lessons of acting. So it's funny that you asked me that, because dogs, animals are really important to me.
They're the best. I saw, not to get political, but I saw like a fake campaign sign and it said Dogs 2020. And yes, I'm here for Dogs 2020.
James McBride called me once when we were shooting the movie, and he said, hey, there's something I always meant to put in the book that I never got in the book. And I was like, what? And he goes, John Brown loved animals. He loved animals. He was always spending time with them. And so all while we were doing the show, I would always try to find a way to have a bunny in my hand, or a turtle in my hand, or a cricket in my hand, or some kind of life.
Animals are the best. And it's funny that you mentioned turtles, because another thing I came across was that you've been doing lots of watercolors.
Mm-hmm. And
there was perhaps a turtle that you saw on your property that kind of sparked that, maybe?
Well, look, we're all trying to figure out how to survive, right?
Yeah.
If you can tell, I like to work. I've worked my whole life, and I don't really know what to do with myself without my job. I didn't realize how much of my sense of self I got from my job. And so I started doing this thing where I try to watercolor every morning with my kids. And yeah, one morning I woke up and there was a giant turtle in our front yard. It was a big snapping turtle laying eggs. And so I painted him.
That's so funny. Yeah. My daughter and I have actually been watercoloring as well. So I had her do this for you.
All right. Well, tell us. That's gorgeous. It's got a whole abstract Monet thing happening.
Yeah, there's some negative space. She's 2.
Yeah, very nice.
I asked her what it was. She said pasta. I don't know how, but I thought I'd share that with you.
Okay.
So what other types, we're home, we're all in weird spaces. What kind of entertainment are you consuming? Are you watching TV, or I know you're a huge reader. What are you into? Podcasts? What's your thing?
The truth is, right when the pandemic started, I had agreed to direct a documentary about Paul Newman and Joanne Woodward. Mm-hmm. And I've been watching Paul Newman and Joanne Woodward movies.
Fun.
That's been the biggest thing that I've been doing. And, they made a lot of movies, and I've been watching them all, and it's really fun.
Another really funny thing I looked on your Instagram to do some snooping, and I looked at who you follow, and it seems like you follow the Jeopardy account. Do you enjoy Jeopardy?
No. Well, I got nothing against Jeopardy.
Okay.
But I was flattered once that they put me as one of the answers.
Oh.
And so I clicked something, and there it is.
That's really funny.
You caught me studying myself.
Well, I love Jeopardy, so I was curious.
All right.
And then I know you have a birthday coming up, so early happy birthday. And I was curious, do you identify with being a Scorpio, or what is your take? Astrology, yay or nay? Are you into it or not?
Can you see this?
Yes. Now you're in focus. Oh, so you do.
Scorpios, we're an interesting breed. So,
my husband's a Scorpio.
Really? Well, so,
All right. Well, thank you so much, Ethan. This has been great. You're delightful.
Yeah, you are too. Thank you so much.
Take care.
My name is Osawatomie John Brown, and I'm here to fight slavery. I demand the immediate emancipation of every soul pining for freedom on American soil.